I will call to order the Ottawa City Commission meeting for Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. May I have roll call, please?
Mayor Clayton.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Crowley.
Present.
Commissioner Allen.
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore.
Present.
And Commissioner Van Layden.
Present. We are all present and accounted for. I want to welcome everyone here to the beautiful Ottawa Memorial Auditorium, to everyone here watching live or those online. We will do the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Pastor Darren Story from Westminster Presbyterian Church. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we bow our heads in prayer. Gracious, loving, and holy God, we come here today asking you to order the steps of these leaders, the leaders of Ottawa. May you bless these proceedings that impact everyone in this community. May we remember the needs of the people they represent. May the discussion be civil and fruitful. And I ask for your blessings for all the servants here today, for their families and their work. Continue to bless our community, our citizens, and may the work done today lift up all in our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. That'll take us to item 6, public comments.
We have none registered.
Okay, hearing none. That'll take us to item 7, appointments, proclamations, recognitions, and nominations. Item A is proclamation recognizing January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Human Trafficking Awareness Month focuses attention on victims of human trafficking, a form of modern-day slavery, and its far-reaching effects. Willow Domestic Violence Center will accept the proclamation, which will be read by Commissioner Allen.
The proclamation reads as follows. Survivors of trafficking are among the most vulnerable of individuals, and we must work together to address the root cause as well as create sustainable recovery options for those who have survived these atrocities. Survivor perspectives are important to solving the root causes, and it is important to include survivors and to keep those survivor-informed perspectives at the forefront of initiatives. Organizations that are taking the lead on human trafficking initiatives in Ottawa, Kansas include, but are not limited to, the following: Ottawa Police Department, Franklin County Sheriff's Department, Franklin County Attorney's Office, Wellsville Police Department, the Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center, Elizabeth Layton Center, Advent Health, Franklin County Coalition to End Homelessness, Ad Astra Advocacy Center of Franklin County, Ottawa University, Neosho County Community College, Unified School Districts number 290, number 289, number 288, and number 287, and the Willow Domestic Violence Center. Whereas human trafficking is a modern form of slavery, is one of the largest and fastest growing criminal industries in the world, and is based on recruiting, harboring, and transporting people for the purpose of exploitation. And whereas sex trafficking and labor trafficking occur in Kansas, and both adults and children of any gender, socioeconomic status, age, race, sexual orientation, or a geographic location can become victimized. And whereas human trafficking includes sexual, verbal, emotional, economic, and physical abuse and exploitation, and all forms of abuse carry long-term complex trauma implications. And whereas Kansas human trafficking laws define commercial exploitation of children, which does not require a showing of force, fraud, threat, or coercion, and references the existing statutory definition of human trafficking and aggravated human trafficking. And whereas the effects of human trafficking reach far beyond its victims and perpetrators, causing disruption in our schools, places of work, and neighborhoods. And now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim the month of January 2026 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and urges the citizens of Ottawa to speak out against sex and labor trafficking and exploitation, to support survivors of these heinous crimes, to encourage community leaders to hold offenders accountable, and to make preventable efforts a priority by hosting events, by creating policies at work, school, and home, and by supporting and participating in programs designated to reduce and eventually eliminate human trafficking as a societal problem. As a community, we will commit to creating and executing a comprehensive, collaborative, and trauma-informed response for the safety and security of human trafficking survivors. Signed this 11th day of February 2026 by our mayor, Zach Clayton.
Thank you.
And Mayor, I don't think Willow is here today,
Okay.
but we'll make sure and get that to them.
Awesome.
Thank
Sounds
you.
great. Thank you. Okay, that'll take us to item 8, consent agenda, which consists of minutes from the January 19th, 2026 special call meeting, minutes from February 4th, 2026 meeting, and an agenda approval.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 9, declaration. At this time, I would like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Hearing none, we will skip item 10, unfinished business, as we have none. Item 11A, consider a resolution authorizing partnership agreement with Live Healthy Franklin County. Director Welsh will present a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to sign a partnership agreement with Live Healthy Franklin County to pave a section of Flint Hills Trail through the Pathways to a Healthy Kansas initiative. Director Welsh.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. This is a little bit different being up here on stage. I feel like a rock star, kind of. Tiffany, thank you for allowing us to be here. So what you have before you is a resolution that would authorize a partnership agreement between the Live Healthy with us and Live Healthy Franklin County for the Pathways Multimodal Transportation and Recreational Trails Package. What we are asking of you is to approve the resolution authorizing the city manager and or his designee to sign this partnership agreement. So the city partnered with Live Healthy Franklin County and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas through the Pathways to a Healthy Kansas initiative, the Multimodal and Trails Grant. Through this, we held multiple community gatherings across Ottawa to gather input from different focus groups. Those focus groups were trail users, those who had accessibility issues, low-income residents, and individuals experiencing homelessness. So we gathered a lot of feedback from these 3 different groups, or 3 or 4 different groups at different times. And through all of that feedback, we identified a lot of barriers in relations to safety, surface conditions on different parts of the trails and even some of the sidewalks throughout town, and then access one direction or another. So gathering all of that information, we came to the conclusion that probably our best step forward through this particular grant would be to pave the section of the Flint Hills Trail that goes from Hickory Street, right outside where City Hall is, down to the water treatment plant. So the purpose of that would be to improve the trail safety, obviously. It's going to provide better accessibility and usability for residents, commuters, and older adults. It will remove some of the barriers that we identified through these community engagements and trail user feedback. And it will also support the active living and healthy transportation options. As said before, this would be a partnership with Live Healthy Franklin County that would be funded through Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and it would position the city to receive implementation grant funding. So the scope of work would look like, as I'd said before, paving the Flint Hills Trail from Hickory Street down to the water treatment plant. It would add add accessibility enhancements to the trail, and it would also ensure that the trail would be ADA compliant at those locations. Through the project, Public Works would be the ones coordinating and delivering this project. We would maintain the improvements for a minimum of 10 years, and we would track the metrics that were required and report them back to Pathways as a part of their requirements. So this resolution would make the city eligible for a non-competitive grant of up to $50,000. There is no direct material purchase cost to the city. The city's match would be provided in kind through staff time, labor, and equipment. And I would also like to mention too that, I should have said this on a slide ago, but anyhow, you're probably somewhat familiar with the Pathways Grant, as we've done a few of these through historically. The most recent one actually took place in the basement of the OMA here, so that was part of a Pathways Grant that took care of the incubator kitchen. And also, the last one that I was a part of was the installation of the senior agility park equipment at Kansas Park. So those are the two most recent ones that we worked together with Pathways on. For the legal consideration, this has been reviewed and approved by our city attorney. And this resolution, as I said before, would authorize that agreement execution. So this strategically aligns with our infrastructure and stewardship of resources. As you see, it's going to improve and extend the life of our city trail infrastructure. And it's also going to provide a better quality of life, encouraging healthy lifestyles and outdoor activities. And all of this information was based on direct feedback from trail users. So with that, we would ask you to take action on this today, or we could refer it to a different regular meeting if need be.
Director Welch, I assume that'd be like an asphalt resurface, is that what we plan?
We're looking to do an asphalt surface.
Okay, and that takes us to the wastewater treatment plant, I guess, okay.
Yep.
Got water treatment plant versus wastewater. I got
Wastewater treatment. If
We're
I said
going-
water treatment plant, yeah, we'd be going the wrong way. So
Okay.
yes, the wastewater treatment plant as you head east.
Okay,
from Hickory.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, do we ever have numbers on the trail usage? I don't know if there's any way to count people on that.
We do have a trail canner that was installed basically at the intersection of the two trails. I think in early 2024, late 2024, the battery died in it, and it hasn't been replaced, so I don't have actual numbers on those users, but it is significant. The numbers are pretty significant on the users.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I don't know, do they ever put any kind of maintenance chat down? I noticed I went west on the trail out to the bridge, and there's some areas there where it's just a chat's gone. Do they come back to state and put chat, re-chat that?
Yeah, so we have a partnership that the city's responsible for the trails as they move through the city of Ottawa. So if that was happening in town, that would be on us to go out and put that up. Historically, yes, the state has come through and added some chat to the Flint Hills Trail for us. But if you do see those spots, if you would just let me know so that way we can get it taken care of. But
Thanks.
And Director Welch, with that, is there anything or any potential concerns? I would assume not, but with wildlife and parks, since, we have that agreement with them to do chunks within the city limits, or do we kind of have almost full reign for our sections?
I don't foresee it being an issue. I think that we've had communication with them over a process of a couple of different grants that we were looking at. And as stated before, it's our responsibility to do all of the maintenance on the trails as they move through Ottawa. So I don't think that any type of upgrade is going to be a downfall on the Kansas parks or the Kansas trails.
Thank you. Do you know in this, if we are able to be a little under budget on this, for potential markings from where it basically stops, kind of right by old CMI, right there at Hickory Street, towards the other trail, some types of marking across First Street in the intersection with Main there?
I don't know that we would be able to, potentially.
Okay.
So this grant was very specific on what it is that you could use the funds for, but that would be a safety improvement. So if that was the case, yeah, we would probably be able to do something to enhance safety.
Okay.
But it would have to be something very specific along those lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, is there any plan moving forward to get a grant somewhere like this, or the possibility to go from like Walnut going west back into the trail too?
There's not necessarily a designed plan for that. It would be, yeah, I think it would be safe to say that would be the overall goal, is to make sure to get the trails paved all the way through Ottawa.
Yeah, okay.
The Flint Hills Trail, just like the Prairie Spirit Trail is.
Director Wells, is there any time constraints on this? Are we in a hurry to try to approve?
No, apparently not. I was thinking that there was, but there's so many grants out there. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with so many of them. Kudos to Melissa for being able to do so.
Commissioner, to answer your question, we are not on a time frame. They work on our schedule right now. And so when this gets approved, we get to move into the implementation stage where we'll get to put together a plan and start getting some of those funds and planning the project. This is the first step in that grant process.
Thank you.
You may know this as well. On this, we're approved today, we start the process when we would look to potentially do the work. Just thinking with events and stuff that go on the trail, there's some stuff planned for this summer, kind of in conjunction with World Cup and other things, and what that may impact pending when that work might be done.
We would definitely time that out, for sure. We have to go through this process, and then we have to go through an implementation process, and some design work and some goal strategy with them. So it would be a couple of months before we would even begin to look at putting that out and looking at that.
Okay.
We would definitely plan it around all the events going on in town and ensure that we were not under construction during a busy time.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have any other questions for Director Welsh or staff?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion we approve item 11A on our agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. May I get roll call, please?
How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Lieden?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
And Mayor Clayton?
I vote yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
And I think I heard someone yell "free bird" out there,
Yes.
Director Welsh, so just so you know, it is like a rock concert up
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
That's that'll take us to item 11B, contract amendment with Confluence to complete the comprehensive plan. With Director Harkin with Neighborhood and Community Services will present a proposed contract amendment with Confluence, Inc. to amend the scope of work for the comprehensive plan, development review process discussion, and zoning ordinance update. Welcome, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. This is actually a bit more of an update. Staff had looked at the original idea of a amendment, but I'll walk through kind of the reasoning. It's more of an update because, as you may remember, in the fall, we did a contract with a consulting firm called Confluence to finish off the work staff had done on the comprehensive plan and begin a discussion process to address some of the issues in the development review process that we had. This contract came out of multiple staff departures and turnover over the last few years. However, staff, when we looked at where we are now, the discussions that have been had, the comments that have been had, decided to pull back from doing an amendment to focus, that shifted the contract from focusing on just the comprehensive plan and a discussion process related to development review to sticking to the original contract because we felt like it would give us more of a chance to address some of the immediate concerns on the zoning side that would give us more of a base for long-term, better discussion, review process, and overall a better zoning product in the long run. Having said that, let me walk you through what I can tell you about where we're going from here. Again, this was originally approved by the City Manager's Office after discussions with you last fall. This aligns with the pillars of housing and neighborhoods as well as economic development and business attraction. The contract has 3 deliverables, and these are those 3. The first is a development review discussion. It may not only address zoning, but also the building permitting review process where we know many of the issues lie currently and have been for some time. That is a discussion type of process that Confluence will lead. Staff will not be involved. And so it will be a open discussion and a chance to air thoughts and feelings and ideas freely. We'll get that report and start to look at changes from there on top of what we already are starting to do. We will finish up the comprehensive plan. There's a lot of text, but there are not a lot of maps at this point, and so this will help with that. And then launching into a code update. This will not be a full lift, but it will give us a good base to start working from going forward. I have some ideas already based on what I've seen. We've talked at the staff level about some things we can do related to uses and expanding those uses, clarifying the use table and doing some other things. We've received a couple of written requests to do code amendments already, so we will incorporate those as well. And then some housekeeping items to address where we think we're going as a community right now. So addressing issues like data centers, additional housing opportunity, how we can create that using zoning, things of that. So it's not a barrier, but more of a tool, and where we can, maybe some incentives. Funds from this contract are being encumbered from leftover funds from our 2025 budget. City attorney has approved the contract. Again, it was signed in the fall. But where we go from here is we will start that discussion process in that first phase, end of this month, beginning of next, and immediately start launching in on finishing the comprehensive plan. And then based on the discussions, we will look at zoning code update items that we will bring forward, hopefully between now and the end of the calendar year, if not sooner. We're going to push as we try and get from taking baby steps to getting into a steady walk and then into a jog to move things forward and clear a backlog of things. But with that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do you know on that, how long that timeline roughly would take? We've kind of got those different phases, what each of those looks like in terms
Sure.
of.
Thank you. Just gonna flip through. So the original contract, which is part of your packet, originally goes from December of '25 into January of '27. So obviously, we're a little bit behind. We're going to try and condense that some and overlap some of these phases. So my thought process is as we go through finishing up the comp plan, we can begin the zoning part at the same time and do it concurrently. That part will probably take the longest, just because good code takes some time to write. There's only so much you can do with form filler type of things. We want to make sure whatever code updates we bring fit the context of the community and are based on what we see here, not just what is the latest hot trend. So with that said, we will try and condense the schedule, but my hope is early fall, if not winter, we can get this done. So it gets us a little back on schedule and then a little ahead.
Director Harkins, I know you mentioned that you already had some submissions of code questions or suggestions.
Correct.
As you're working through that process of the code review, if we have any changes that are, I don't even want to say substantial, just changes that we may make to our code that contractors are going by nowadays, before those are made, can those changes be submitted to the I know we blast out emails when it comes to like shutdowns, you know, if that department shut down for a day. Can we blast out an email that says, hey, these are some of the suggestions that we're making to our code? Can we,
Absolutely.
so that way we can have a discussion before we do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and in all likelihood, what you will see is a process where we take the input and say, based on what we've heard so far, these are the suggestions we see. How far off are we? What else should we add? What else is pressing? Work through that process of creating those amendments and then roll that back out again to say, how far off are we and what else are we missing at this point that has come up in your mind? So
I certainly appreciate that conversation. Construction workers are creatures of habit. So I've done this every time, and if you pull the rug out from underneath them, it's upsetting.
Sure.
And before we have to pull that rug out, we can have that conversation, and we can all be, it can be a smooth transition in a new code.
Correct. Well, and there's the discussion about building code, and then there's discussion about zoning and development code. So those will probably be some parallel steps. You'll see more of the action probably at first on the zoning and subdivision side, and then probably more in-depth on the building code. So that may spin off into a little bit longer discussion, and that's okay if it does. I want to make sure any changes there as well reflect where we're at as a community and what we think we can do. I know some communities in the state are going through the discussion of, do we stay at 18 on the IBC, or do we jump to 21, or do we just go to 24? And those are discussions that may need their own process and their own time, and that's okay too if we get to that point.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. That answered one of my questions as well. I wasn't sure if in here we were also pulling that in with the zoning and subdivision code to also look at building codes. So
There'll
thank you
always
for
be
that.
some overlap
Yeah.
in terms of the development community, and that's just part of this process. But when we get something that's more building code related, we will take it and walk through that piece as well.
Okay, thank you.
So, Director, we've already spent the money on this, correct? Hey, we're just talking about an amendment to the contract today?
Right, we're not even talking about an amendment to the contract anymore.
Not
Staff
even.
had looked at an amendment to shift some of the deliverables and then decided, as we were getting more feedback, to come back to the original contract.
Okay.
So this is more of a reminder of this is the contract, and this is the status of where we're at and where we're going from here.
So you don't need action today? is
We
that
don't
correct?
need any
Okay.
action other than any questions you might have.
With that, City Attorney Finch, for your city attorney hat, do we need to do anything agenda-wise since we have it listed as contract amendment with a potential of motion? Do we need to do anything for that? Just, okay.
No, that agenda was created back when we thought there might be an amendment. Upon further discussion, it was not to be amended, so just for kind of a review and file and question and answer this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. Do we have any other questions on item 11B? Hearing none, okay. Well, you get to stay with us. So item 11C, ordinance amending the Lakeside Estates Planned Unit Development. The ordinance amends the Lakeside Estates Planned Unit Development to modify access requirements by separating the previously approved shared access between two lots into individual access for each lot.
Right. So staff's recommendation is that the city commission approve the amendment of the ordinance that created the original planned unit development. This is the specific location of it along 17th Street, West 17th to be exact. The original planned unit development called for two lots specifically to have a shared access or a shared driveway. The applicant is asking the city to remove that requirement and amend the PUD to remove the shared driveway requirement. That requires an amendment to the original ordinance. The development code or the zoning ordinance, when it comes to planned unit developments, does not specifically have a process to amend, so that leaves it up to you amending the original ordinance. It is residential, as are the surrounding properties on the future land use map. This was originally approved as part of the Lakeside Estates Subdivision. It's 0.67 acres in size. This, in staff's opinion, addresses the strategic pillar of housing in neighborhoods, specifically housing for all. We feel it's an appropriate amendment and creates additional opportunity. We don't see any safety factors with this being approved. There is no anticipated cost to the city. The ordinance has been approved as to form and reviewed by the city attorney. With that said, again, our recommendation is approval of the amendment to ordinance to amend the original PUD ordinance. In terms of other options, if you want additional discussion or need other information, you can delay this item to a date certain on the agenda, or you can deny the amendment request. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So with this, there would still be no vehicular access to 17th Street. It would come off of that, kind of the inlet that's there. Yeah. So the driveways would come off of Easy Street essentially?
The lots are facing onto 17th, so they would have the access onto 17th.
Because the original ordinance states that there would be no access onto 17th Street. Oh, except for shared driveways for Lot 4. Never mind, I missed that. Okay, so they're amending that instead of shared driveway, it'd be
Correct.
2.
So by removing the shared driveways, they can do separate driveways onto 17th Street.
Correct. This gives the developer a little bit more flexibility in lot site arrangement and lot sales.
Do you know, Director, was there any deed restrictions on this? I thought previously that those lots also had deed restrictions, not just the PUD. I wasn't sure if,
We would have to go back and research
Okay.
that.
do we have any other questions?
So that'd be a lot split, I guess, involved in this to build two different homes?
Well, there's 2 lots currently
There are already two lots.
already.
Oh, I just see the one, okay.
We just highlighted the general area that's the subject property.
Okay. And that's wide enough at each lot to be able to support a single-family home there, okay.
Mr. Mayor, I think this is something if need, I mean,
Yeah,
I'd like to gather more information about it. I know there's a lot of houses that, well, a couple blocks back, starting before they're even allowed to have driveways that go to 17th Street, and then they continue on all the way to Eisenhower without that approved, without allowed. So I know that, yeah, I'd like to gather some more
Look at that
information
first.
before I make any decision, in my opinion.
With that, do you have any staff requests or just you?
No, If I don't, I can do my own due diligence.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think it's called the Jorgensen pause, if I remember right, so I'm fine with waiting another week or more on this. if
Okay.
need be.
Okay, hearing none, we will wait another week, move this to next week's agenda. Thank you, Director. With that, you are here as well. Item 11D, resolution accepting the infrastructure for the Vanknight Addition. The resolution accepts the completed and approved public infrastructure improvements for the Vanknight Addition.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As noted, this is an agenda item to accept public infrastructure for an addition. Staff's recommendation is to approve the acceptance and the associated resolution. The final plat was approved by you in July of '25. The public infrastructure for this development is limited only to the sidewalks, so it is a bit different than what we normally would see coming forward on an item like this. Those sidewalks are completed and ready for acceptance. We feel this aligns again with the idea of housing for all as a strategic pillar. We have asked for clarity, a maintenance bond just for that sidewalk and that as public infrastructure. There is no financial consideration for the city. The resolution has been reviewed and approved as to form by the city attorney. Again, we recommend approval of this item. In terms of alternatives, you can deny the request and not accept it, or you can defer the item to a date certain if you wish for additional discussion or information. Any questions I can answer?
You might refresh my memory. Where's this located?
So I'll even have to refresh my memory.
Is it 10th and Pine? Is this the one by the high school?
It's in that area.
Those lots
yes.
that were split up at one point?
If my memory serves me correctly,
Oh,
it's in
on
that general
Olive.
area.
Okay, yeah. You're
Between 11th and 10th on
Yeah.
Olive, okay.
Yeah.
So this is essentially just saying that they're done with the sidewalks at this point now. They have completed their work.
That is correct.
Yeah, I've driven by those homes. They look really nice in there. I'm glad he chose to put 3 homes in there instead of 4 at one time around the corner there. And so I really appreciate Slade for doing that and making, I know the neighborhood preferred 3 versus 4 for that very reason. I know they've already sold one, I think, so I think he's doing a great job. I appreciate everything that Slade does for our community.
With that, if we have no other questions, I'll stand for a motion for item 11D.
I thought Commissioner Skidmore was going to make it,
I
so I
was
put your
wa-
initials
I-
down. That's what the speech was
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
for, so.
And therefore, I will make the motion. We approve item 11D on our agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. May I get roll call, please?
How do you vote, Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Layden?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
And Mayor Clayton?
I vote yes. Motion passes. Thank you, Director. That'll move us on to item 11E, request for approval of purchase of replacement street sweeper with Director Welsh. Director Welsh will present a recommendation to award a contract for the replacement of the city's street sweeper. Welcome
Thank you
back.
again, Mayor and Commissioners. So as you see, I'm bringing forward to you the request for the authorization to purchase a new street sweeper. We are recommending the approval to purchase this new regenerative air street sweeper. This would be a replacement. This would not be an addition to. As you know, street sweeping supports both our roadway maintenance and our stormwater compliance responsibilities. So we're recommending the purchase of this new street sweeper. After the trade-in, the total comes to approximately $348,000. The vendor that we are recommending is the best overall value and met all of our operational specifications. So our current street sweeper is a 2016 model, and as you can imagine, has reached its expected service life. As everything ages, obviously, we start to see more frequent repairs, higher maintenance costs, and definitely more downtime. So as you know, when the street sweeper is down, our streets aren't being swept. So that's also affecting our stormwater compliance as our overall street cleanliness. So really, this replacement's about reliability and staying ahead of those breakdowns. So we issued RFQs for competitive quotes and reviewed multiple vendors. We received 7 quotes back from 4 different vendors. So through those, we evaluated costs, specifications, warranty, and delivery time. The recommended unit improves efficiency and debris pickup. It does have a larger hopper than the one that we currently have, a better watering system performance, and has updated safety features, cameras, and lighting, et cetera. So one of the questions that I had for our operator, what was the difference between a regenerative street sweeper and just a vacuum street sweeper? So let me answer that for you before you ask. So the regenerative air, that's a difficult word for me to say for some reason. It uses a system of both air pressure and suction. So it's blowing air down and then immediately sucking the air back up. So it's able to lift some of the finer dirt and the smaller sediment off of our roads, which is the stuff that mostly clogs the drains. So if we were to go with a vacuum type of system, that would be more like essentially just like a shop vac on wheels. Those ones work great for heavier debris, like if you have large piles of leaves or limbs or et cetera, things like such laying around in the road, which, as we all know, we do come across that. But those ones have, with the better suction, it also comes with some more problem line areas, so they clog up a lot more on a more regular basis, obviously picking up those larger pieces. And then, with some of our brick streets, it would be a little bit of a concern that if it works too well, we might be pulling bricks out of the street, and we definitely don't want that. So just for the general routine maintenance and stormwater compliance, the regenerative system is the better fit for us. So your financial considerations, the new street sweeper would cost, like I said, just under $380,000. We would receive a $31,500 trade-in, bringing that net cost down to $348,096. I did look at some historical sales through like the Purple Wave auction site. If we wanted to look at potentially selling our vehicle on Purple Wave, I think it would be risky to do so. While there have been a couple of them that have brought in a substantial amount of money, they were much newer models. So if we were looking at just the models from 15, 16, 17, that type, I think this is a really good trade-in value. It's actually higher than some of those others on Purple Wave that have sold. So this has been planned, and we've been putting money aside for many years to be able to replace this. So it would be fully funded out of our stormwater fund, and there would be no additional budget request or unexpected expenses. There is no legal consideration for this. As you can see, the strategic alignment, multiple different factors, but I've just highlighted a couple of them for you there. And at this time, it would be my recommendation, it would be staff's recommendation to take action today and authorize us to proceed with the procurement of the replacement street sweeper from Elliott Equipment. Or if you would like to continue deliberations, we could refer this to a future meeting.
Commissioners, I might just add, this was part of your approved budget from last year. This is not a fleet expansion, this is a replacement. Theoretically, this could have been placed on your consent agenda today, but because of the amount involved and because 10 years ago we had quite a conversation about street sweepers, they are very expensive for that equipment. But if you go without them for a while, like we did back in 2016, you begin to hear from a lot of folks like, where's the street sweeper? The streets don't look good, the debris is piling up, and it has a negative impact on storm drainage. So they are pretty essential, and this time we're getting ahead of it before our machine is out of commission like it was back in 2016. And so while technically you approved this last year, given the amount involved, we want to bring this back before you and get the presentation that DJ just gave you. So.
Director Welch, can you kind of explain again? I mean, I know it cleans our streets, but more than that, with regard to the storm sewer collection and what would happen if we did not do this, sweeping the streets?
So, the obvious is that the streets aren't clean at that point, right? So, but as far as the storm water itself, so the city of Ottawa falls under an MS4 permit. So MS4 meaning municipal separate storm sewer system. So there's a lot of requirements that we are regulated to abide by through that permit. Street sweeping isn't necessarily one of those, just very specifically, but it has several different columns in the MS4 that you have to get points from. And our street sweeping plan or our street sweeping system, it falls under the housekeeping plan as a part of that MS4 permit. So it's allowing us to be compliant with that MS4 permit. So not only is it picking up the debris off of the street, but we also use it for cleaning out the catch drains, the storm drains. So each year we go through and we have somewhere around between 1,200 and 1,300 storm drains throughout town, and we go through with the street sweeper and because it has certain attachments, and we use that to clean out the storm drains as well.
In this unit that we're trading in, is this the one that had a fire a couple of years ago, or is that another one?
I think that this one did catch on fire. I believe the one prior to 2016 also caught on fire. So we haven't had a really good history with the fires involved with the street sweepers. But this one I don't think was quite as bad as the one prior to 2016.
Same driver or different driver? Might want to look at the driver.
No comment.
If we don't comply with the MS4 permit, then what?
Then we could potentially start to be fined through the KDHE in order to maintain compliance. Yeah.
And do we have the cash, or we plan to finance this?
This would be a cash purchase.
Cash purchase?
Yeah.
Far before KDHE would start finding us, you would start getting calls from residents.
Yeah.
And we saw that happen a decade ago before we bought this unit that we're trading in.
Well, I suppose too, if our storm drains clogged up, flooding could be a problem. We don't want that either, as we've been through that before, so.
Absolutely.
Director Welsh, could you touch on, I think it may have been, I don't know if it was 2016, it's years ago, we had a third party come in, do some cleaning, I believe, right, for a limited amount of time. Kind of on that, the pros and cons versus having our own unit, doing third party, cost considerations, kind of some of that stuff that's gone into this?
It was on my list of things to do was to reach out to other communities and see what they paid to have those services done. I don't know what we paid back in, I think it was somewhere around 2016 when that was done. I wasn't a part of that. But if you figure, this is almost a daily occurrence for us to run that street sweeper. So I just asked the question today, how long does it take for our street sweeper, if it just runs 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, how long does it take to make it around town? And the answer was, if it's not in the fall when there's leaves all over the ground, about a month. So it takes a full month to hit all of the streets in town. So if you were to contract that out, you would essentially be paying another staff member to just be constantly on the road, doing this job that we're already paying someone to do. And that would not be cleaning out our storm drains, the things that we're required to do as a part of that MS4 as well each year. So we would have to find another way to do that.
Thank you.
Director Welsh, I know it's been in our monthly reports occasionally, but and I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but do you know the tonnage that that the sweeper picks up?
I do. So I've actually got some of those stats for you. So in 2025, 2025, we swept 1,367 miles, picked up 406.2 tons, which is a gigantic amount. That's, and, obviously, we don't have an operator that's just operating 40 hours a week. So there's going to be times when, the vehicle's in the shop. There's going to be times when that operator has to be doing other duties assigned, right? So that number could be much larger. I would also point out, too, that this recommendation is from, there were two vehicles that were almost identical. The one that we were recommending has a larger hopper. So we did some just quick math. So for, I think it was like $12,000 more, we could get one with a 2 cubic yard more hopper. So essentially what that's going to do is save us at least one trip a day back and forth to the dump. So that one trip a day is 30 minutes minimum. So it's going to add that much more time that we're going to be able to be sweeping. And if you figure that up throughout the year, you're saving that $12,000 very
Okay,
quickly.
and that's the difference between the A7 and the A9?
Yes, that's the only difference is the hopper size.
And this is a new type of make and model that we've not had here before, so I assume there'd be some training involved for the drivers.
There will be, and each one of these models, we had, all of these companies, they brought down each one of these so we could demo them. So we've put hands on, we've actually went out and tested each one of these on our streets. And our operator really liked these models, so it was just kind of nice that it came back as the, essentially the lowest bid. So he was happy to see that.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions for Director Welch or staff?
That's a lot of money.
It is, but the alternative is substantially more, I believe.
Ultimate, it's kind of like buying a fire truck, we got to have it, yeah.
I'd make the motion, we approve item 11E on our agenda.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. May I get roll call vote, please?
How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Layden?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
And Mayor Clayton?
I vote yes. Motion passes. Thank you, Director. That'll take us to item 11F, City Manager Agreement with Interim City Manager Finch. Interim City Manager Finch will present a city manager agreement.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you to the OMA staff for letting us have the meeting here today, since the normal quarters are unavailable at City Hall. It is my honor to say that we have gone through a nationwide search with our consultant, SGR, to identify and find the next city manager for the city of Ottawa. We started out with over 40 applicants from all over the country. We cut that down to semifinalists, and those folks responded with more information and video interviews that the commission reviewed, and you then selected finalists to come to Ottawa and interview, 2 from outside the state and 1 from within. And after the interviews were complete and discussion was had, today I am presenting to you a contract for the employment of Ottawa's next city manager, Thatcher Motti. Thatcher is here today and would like to take any questions you may have, or just as by way of introduction to the community. Thatcher was kind enough to come here, so I'll have him introduce himself and take any questions that you may have, and then we can review the contract and take action on that.
Well, I've met you guys already, luckily, so my name's Thatcher Motti. Happy to be here tonight. Thanks for having me. First of all, I just want to say it's an honor and a privilege to serve the community of Ottawa. I'm excited for this opportunity, excited to work with each and every one of you. Thank you to the governing body for selecting me as your candidate. I look forward to working with all of you to help achieve a mutual vision for this community. I really want to thank the staff for being so warm and welcoming so far, and look forward to working with all of the staff to meet their goals and their goals for their department and the community together, and really involve and engage the staff in our mutual vision. Lastly, I really want to thank the community. I'm excited to get out, meet the citizens, meet the business owners, meet the community advocates. Going to try to get as many people met as I can. It's going to take a while to meet 12,000 people, but I'm going to chip away at that as much as I can, and really excited to be a part of this community. Excited to have my family here, and grateful for the opportunity. Lastly, I'll thank Blaine, who's been really helpful on getting this contract done and turning everything around, and I look forward to working with him. And with that, I'll take any questions, but thanks again.
I'll ask the first question here. I think Interim Director Finch is probably thinking this, but I'll ask it. How soon can you get here?
I'll say more than 30, less than 60. So I think we're targeting March 23rd, and obviously going to have a few days in there to get myself and my family moved. But I want to make sure I'm getting over here where I can get in the full swing of things right away. So I'm excited to be here, and I want to get here as quick as I can, but going to try to send my current community off on a good note. So.
That's what I was going to say next. We just want to thank the community of Harrington for sharing you with us, and it was a good training ground for you, and I know you did well there, but I want to thank the people of Harrington.
Of course, and I would thank them as well. I would echo that, and it's been a great opportunity, and wish them the best, but happy to be here in Ottawa. So.
Well, I concur with Commissioner Skidmore here in saying that our city manager is probably the most excited person to have you here, so glad that
He's only doing 3 or 4 jobs at once,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I concur with Commissioner Skidmore. During your interview, you were really impressive. The answers that you had just seemed to really kind of go along with, the questions that we had. What I was looking for, I guess what I would say in our next city manager. I think you're going to be really excited, really happy about the community that you're coming to. Not saying that Harrington wasn't great, but the city of Ottawa certainly is. And I think you're going to enjoy being our next city manager, if, I guess, we make that decision.
I hope you do.
That is a good caveat. I'll follow that as well. And just, again, to say thank you. I just recently brought a family to Ottawa as well. And it's an amazing community. It's a great place to be, a great place to live. I know you know that, but just want to reiterate that as well. And, seeing the interview process that you had to go through, it is daunting, it's embarrassing. Sometimes those video prompts and stuff, and watching it, I just want you to know I think you did a great job throughout. And we appreciate, that broad scope that they threw out. And we had applicants from all over the country looking to come to Ottawa. And so we're really excited for you to start. I'm counting the days down. I'm seeing how many days we have until March 23rd, because I know you'll hit the ground running, but we are excited to have you. You did great in your interview. I really appreciate your perspective towards Ottawa and opportunities that you see here as well, and then the strengths that we have. When you did your SWOT analysis, I even noticed some things that I was like, I kind of almost glaze over that or kind of forget about that. That's a true strength that we have, so I really appreciated that stuff, and I might be more excited than Interim City Manager Finch, so.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I would point out, thanks to SGR, I thought they ran a really good process, and a rigorous process and difficult at times, but that's important in the selection, and thanks to SGR and Clay, who were really gracious to me, so.
Yeah, one of the things that I appreciated during your interview was it was always about the city of Ottawa. And we had some other candidates where it was more about, I would move here because it's closer to family, or, it's a little more convenient for this reason. Not so much, I want to live in Ottawa, but I want to take care of Ottawa. I want to do the job. And that's really where you stood out to me. So thank you for going through the whole process, and we look forward to having you and your family here.
Thank you. I really love Ottawa, and I always have. So it feels a little close to home to me, and really appreciate being here. Thanks for those kind words. So.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for taking this opportunity for Ottawa. I've lived here my whole life, and it's a great community, and I think we'll be lucky to have you as a new city manager. And you checked all the boxes for me with your interviews and stuff, and I look forward to having you on board.
Appreciate that. I'm ready to get to work, guys, so thank you.
And I do just want to say that I really appreciate you being here today as well. I think this vote, this moment, the contract, all of that, it's kind of the behind-the-scenes stuff from a first day that we really don't see. So you being here, being able to answer questions, kind of introduce yourself before we get to this, I think really is a testament, I think, to you as well. So I just wanted to share that.
No problem. I was glad to be here and hoping to attend a few more meetings in person or at least virtually to catch up on things. So thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Just one more thing I would say, too. We've got our previous city manager about 10 feet behind you, Richard Neinstedt. So I'm sure that you better get his phone number, and he'll be glad to help you on any kind of issues and tell you the real stories about us sitting up here maybe, too. So
I'll get the scoop on everything, but I will say Richard, that's incredibly big shoes to fill. I think any city manager would hope to model their career even 10% off of what Richard's been able to accomplish. So I hope to sit down with him and have a good conversation about Ottawa. So.
Mr. Mayor, it's 40. 40 is the number of days before,
40, okay.
between now and March 5th.
But not counting.
When you
Not
ask who's
counting.
counting, I'm counting, and it's 40 days.
Okay.
I do want to say, and Thatcher mentioned SGR. I want to mention Michelle Stegman-Jacobson, the city's HR director. When we started this process back in October, believe it or not, this is an accelerated timeline to have Thatcher standing here before you today and able to start in March. These searches often take much, much longer. And it's only because of the work that she did in-house to help prepare SGR for the materials they needed to get out to be able to do their part of the job that we are where we are today. So I wanted to lift her up and mention her to you as someone who deserves your praise and credit for the speed of this search, and I think the result of it, which is that we have a great city manager coming here, depending on your actions in the next few minutes, to serve the citizens of this community. And I definitely am happy to see Richard here because I do think it's a through line of dedicated public servants who have taken the time to learn how to be good public managers and who are bringing that skill set to the table to further our community in partnership with our elected officials. You all set the vision, you all set the policy, and then it's the city manager and the staff that carry it out for the benefit of the public. And I think we've got another good one coming to our community, and nothing but excitement surrounding that from the staff side.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that we enter an employment agreement for our next city manager, Thatcher Motti.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? May I have roll call vote, please?
How do you vote, Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
yes.
Commissioner Van Layden?
Yes.
And Mayor Clayton?
I vote yes. Motion passes.
Welcome.
Thanks
Yeah,
again,
early
guys.
welcome.
I really
Yes.
appreciate it.
Congratulations, Thatcher.
And congratulations to you, interim city manager.
40. All right, that brings us to comments by the city manager. A few things we want to go through. Operational highlights. The water plant treated 9.3 million gallons of water last week. Water distribution inspected over 8,000 feet of newly lined sewer mains with the in situ form process. Electric distribution set 2 poles on Wilson Street in preparation for the Northeast Village project. One of the things that we talk about all the time when we talk about incentives is we say, oh, we're going to get property taxes later on. But there is a cost right up front when we talk about development in the community. And that's one of the challenges for you as elected officials to balance that upfront cost with maybe the long-term return. And so this is a good example of that. And note that we have seen over the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen costs for all kinds of electricity infrastructure go up 100%, doubled what it was back in 2020. And so poles are no exception to that. Utility poles are very expensive. Some more operational highlights. Streets Department swept 55 curb miles over 35 hours, 28.77 tons of debris from the north side of town. And the Street Department installed some new drainage tubes on K68 near Ike and Mike's, the storage facility out there. A couple of job postings. Pro shop attendant for the golf course closes March 6th. And again, we're still looking for that successful candidate who wants to be a police officer. So if you know anybody who's interested, that one also closes on March 6th. Some upcoming events. We had the cultural breakfast here this morning. And then we'll have the library will have speaker and magician Adam Brown coming up on the 19th, and then the Chamber's Youth Entrepreneur Challenge, part of the Network Kansas program, will be February 26th at Ottawa University. I encourage you, we're full up on judges, but if you want to come out and see some talented young people who have some vision and some moxie, they will have a career fair there where they will display their projects, their entrepreneur projects, and you can come through and see those. So would highly recommend taking some time to do that. A note on the cultural breakfast that occurred here this morning. I want to give a shout out to our auditorium director, Tiffany Evans. The boiler that serves this building is now out. It turns out it blew a gasket, and it has been leaking. It turns out there are how many gaskets in that boiler, Tiffany? 20 gaskets in that boiler. We know that one has failed. We think there may be another one. They're overnighting some of those gaskets in so they can try to replace those because we do have events upcoming here in this venue beyond the City Commission meeting this afternoon. So appreciate that she was able to keep that going for the cultural breakfast this morning and for the meeting this afternoon. And the BCI Mechanical is working to get the boiler back up and running. They have the HVAC project at City Hall and here.
Mr. Finch, if those dates are correct, those are Thursdays. The 19th and the 26th.
The 19th, okay. They'll be Thursday, the 19th, and Thursday, the 26th. Apologies on that.
No worries, just if somebody was seeing.
Go with the numbers, yes.
The date, there you go.
Go with the date, not the day of the week. We've got some tentative items for your meeting on the 18th, the Finance Monthly Report and our partner agency reports for January and for the fourth quarter of 25 from our partners. You've already seen the city's fourth quarter reports. City Clerk Sherman will have a publication charter ordinance for discussion, and then we'll have a wildfire contract that's mostly for your review. I'll cover that in CM comments that day. It's a revision to the wildfire contract that we've had before, and the State Fire Marshal's taking that over. So we'll give you some information on that. There won't necessarily be an action item. I do want to take a minute. I think we're coming. Yeah, there we go. I want to take a minute and ask Director Welch to come back up with me so we can share some good news with you. I promised a couple weeks ago, I teased a big announcement that would be coming that I think is very positive for our community. You'll recall we had a Safer Streets grant recently of about $800,000, but we've got even bigger good news on behalf of the city, and I'll let Director Welch share that with you.
I thought Blaine was going to share this news with you, and I was just going to be here for moral support. But
This is good city management.
there you go. There you go. Yeah. So, yes, thank you very much for letting me be the one to share this great news. But apparently, we had planned here before. It's been a while back, but thinking ahead, right? So we were thinking, what's the long distance? What does our future look like? So, in regards to the airport. So. As we've been speaking, here for the last month or so about potential grants and how are we going to do some expansion at the airport, we were notified that FUD appropriations had passed through the state offices, and what was the number, Blaine? $2.613 million we will be able to put towards the airport, towards a runway extension. So currently, our runway is 4,500 feet, so this is going to be an additional 1,000 feet to our airport, which is fantastic. Once we found that out, we said, okay, this is wonderful news, right? How do we actually make this happen? So let's continue planning. So beyond that, we have looked to move towards design. So we've applied for Kansas Airport Improvement Program grant through Kansas Department of Transportation to cover the majority of the design of that, which comes out to somewhere around $670,000. We have already submitted that grant, so now we just await hopefully for that approval. But very exciting stuff. I think that in total, probably a project cost of a little over $4 million is what we're looking at. Yeah, I don't want to get into too many details over the project, but it is just exciting news to know that we are continuing to expand.
So Director Welch, for folks who may not know, tell us what would the additional 1,000 feet do for the airport?
I asked that same question because does that just mean that we can bring in more airplanes? What does it look like, right? So I thought when somebody said you have an additional 1,000 feet, you can just bring in bigger airplanes. But apparently there's a lot more things to come with just bringing in larger airplanes. But what I was told and what I can give you is that it would allow for some larger airplanes to come in. Some of the smaller to medium size, like regional jets that we may be able to see that couldn't necessarily come in right now. Some of the smaller jets may still be able to come in, but because of that extended runway, it's going to give less restriction on the payload in the on the airplane itself, which affects the minimum requirements for their insurance. So knowing that, so essentially the way that I interpret that is you have to have more insurance to land on a shorter runway. So this is going to ixnay that requirement, so allow more of those larger jets to land out here, which is going to be great. So in hopes that we continue to grow, as a community, we see more of those larger corporate jets bringing folks in and potentially bringing business in as well.
When I was mayor, we had a potential client for Proximity Park come here to view the property, and they couldn't land here.
Mm-hmm.
They landed in Gardner and had to drive down. And that's just that, even if the process that we're going through now doesn't occur, and even if it does, those kind of folks that we want in Proximity Park are going to be the exact people who use a longer runway, or you have those jets that use a longer runway. So
Yep.
It's going to benefit Proximity Park, whether it's for the folks we're going through the process now, or maybe future clients, customers for Proximity Park. So huge
This is
benefit.
definitely forward thinking on your guys' part to allow this type of thing to happen. And, the sky's the limit. We'll say it that way, right?
Well, I don't think it's on our part. I think it's on, the board, the airport board. That's their comprehensive plan, their plan, their future plan. And that's something they made was a really important, part of what the future of the airport would look like. So forward thinking for them, for sure.
A little bit of the political backstory on this. You recall that we have a grant that's active right now that is for taxiway improvements that DJ and his team and the Airport Advisory Board have been helping with. And there was originally an earmark in the THUD budget, Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development, part of the federal appropriations bills that was for taxiway improvements. We ended up getting the grant while that member-directed spending from Senator Moran was pending. And so he called me and said, hey, here's the issue. You've got this grant, but we also have this earmark in. Do you want to keep it? And I said, absolutely, we want to keep it, but we'd like to expand it. We'd like it to be for more than taxiways. And he goes, okay, well, here's the options. And we kind of talked through the options and decided that we wanted to expand what it could be used for. I contacted Director Welch and said, hey, what do we have? And just so happened that the airport planning that we do with the consultant every year, we report back to the FAA, kind of like your CIP. What are the important priority projects for your airport? And we had T-hangars #1 and we had runway extension #2. And then right after I'd gotten the call from Senator Moran, I said, let's flip those. Let's talk about runway expansion because we can do T-hangars at another time. But runway expansion is one of those kinds of projects that if you get the money, you want to take advantage of it while you got it. Thanks to Senator Moran and his staff for working with House appropriators to get that change made to the THUD bill. And then recall we had the smaller government shutdown last week. At the beginning of the week, that was holding things up. But THUD finally got through, and Senator Moran called me midweek last week to tell me that the bill had been passed. It's been signed by the president. And the member-directed spending is in there at $2.613 million. Our consultant immediately went to work, along with our city clerk, to help get the application into KDOT by the end of the month of January so that we could take advantage of some planning grants that are available there, and those are pending, so we're still waiting to hear on that. But it's an exciting time. Took a lot of people working together, not the least of which was Senator Moran in Washington working on our behalf. And just really want to thank him, want to thank his team, thank Director Welch and City Clerk Sherman for their quick work on this to try to secure some additional money to help make something better here in Ottawa.
And I'll just say, I know there's one name that's not brought up that's been helping with this, and I think our former City Manager Brian Silcott certainly contributed a lot toward this grant application, I understand, so I just want to shout out to him and say thank you for that.
Absolutely correct. Want to thank Brian Silcott for his work on this, and this is one that he was kind of working on sub rosa even, that he was utilizing some of his contacts there in DC, and this is a fine parting gift from him, and we certainly appreciate his efforts on it. That concludes my report, unless you have any questions for me, Commissioners.
I think that's it. Thank you. Okay, that'll take us on to item 13, comments by the governing body. We will start with Mayor Pro Tem Crowley.
I have no comment.
Commissioner Skidmore,
I have nothing more.
Commissioner Allen,
Nothing more to add.
Commissioner Van Lieden.
No more to add.
Okay, well, I'm going to be the only one talking a bunch. I've got a list jotted down. I just want to give a shout out to, the folks within the city who, I will say for my part, I hope they never have to work, but our fire department, this past week, I'm sure a lot of people saw the press release that came out. We had 3 fires, unfortunately had a fatality. So just want to give those guys kudos for the work that they do and working to keep stuff safe. Maybe as small as some smoldering clothes in a dryer, all the way to a total loss house fire with a fatality. So I just want to shout out, I always love paying you guys to not work, because that means there's no fires. But thank you to you guys for all the work that you guys do there as well. I want to give a shout out to Tiffany and the staff here at OMA. The cultural breakfast this morning for Columbia from Alejandra was awesome. It was a great presentation. It was packed in here, so that was so cool to see as well. I did want to bring up, I know I saw it pass the House federally. It's the Housing for the 21st Century, and one of the items they had marked was some grants for cities and tribes for pre-approved housing plans in like neighborhood and community development organizations. So just seeing that at the federal level really brought that back. I think that would be something I'd like to bring back. I know a year ago, I think it was March, will be about a year, with our director at that time and staff, we had talked about looking at getting pre-approved plans and what that would kind of look like. I would just like to bring that up so we can hopefully get that conversation started again. I think if you see it at the federal level, it's obviously an issue that is a lot larger than just Ottawa. I do want to give shout outs to both of, some reps of ours in Congress. As City Manager Finch mentioned, Senator Moran, T-HUD bill for, $2.6 million. I was fortunate last week to have lunch while she was in town with Sharice Davids, our House of Representatives rep, and we were celebrating, the $800,000 that she was able to get for Franklin County, not just Ottawa, and that stuff as well. So I always appreciate when we were able to see actual dollars come back to Ottawa from the federal government, and both of those staffs have been great to work with, and so I want to give a shout out to both of them as well. I did want to bring up and see if anyone had wanted to do a discussion on, previously we've had study sessions. Sometimes we've done that on the 5th. When I first started, we did that every week on a Monday. And I think there was a lot of value in that. So I kind of wanted to throw out, see what other commissioners thought about looking at, maybe it's that 5th meeting that we have, going back to or adding that, or looking at maybe it's the 4th, our second 4 o'clock, if we want to do something along those lines of bringing that in. So I wanted to open that up if anyone else had some thoughts on that, or if City Manager Finch had anything he wanted to say on what that would kind of look like if we kept some of our other times. Are we happy with the times? I think since I've been on, we've discussed what our schedule looks like to accommodate public and staff. We've moved stuff a few times. Just kind of want to always keep that dialogue open for if our 7, 10, and 4, those work for us.
I'm in favor of having a study session. I don't know that it matters to me whether it is, if we have it, I think once a month would be great, but if we wanted to utilize the 5th Wednesday of a month, that's fine as well, whatever that looks like. I just appreciate being able to be a little more candid and have a little more like roundtable discussion about some of these things. Especially if it's something that we, kind of like today, may need more information on, we could ask at that time and then be prepared for a vote when it's that time. So I would be in favor of having study sessions, again, however that looks like.
Yeah. And I had written it down. My apologies. I think the 5th, we kind of always have a floating meeting, and there's not many this year, so almost like if that 4th, our second 4 o'clock one, would be the one that we would do a study session or whatever people, if we think that's something we want to look at trying to do with staff. Some time to kind of go over things a little bit more, a little deeper, dive in some of those things.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think we used to accomplish a lot at our study session, more of an informal meeting where we could, have more in-depth conversation. And it wasn't just about, an agenda and an approval.
Yeah.
So I think the 4th would probably be the best. That way we could ensure that we have one once
Yeah,
a month.
one every month,
Yep.
yeah.
My calendar's wide open.
Yeah. And those are, just as a reminder, they're still a public meeting. They're still, open if someone wants to come, give comments, do anything. That does not change anything. It would just be simply what the agenda would look like, voting, any of that potential stuff as well.
Yeah, I'll put on my city attorney hat. You'll recall my famous phrase, a meeting's a meeting is a meeting. The Kansas Open Meetings Act recognizes meetings, not necessarily by type, but certainly you are free to, within the confines of the law, to have different types or styles of meeting. And we kind of went from having both kinds to just having your more formal meeting where you have the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation and the roll call and all of those things, as opposed to maybe an informal, more of a discussion or just what they are, a study session. I will tell you that staff would welcome this kind of change. I know that I talked about it with your former city manager. I know that I've talked about it as your interim city manager with staff, that there are a number of topics that really would warrant a deeper dive and conversation with the 5 of you to try to develop consensus. It's very hard to bring you staff recommendations on some of these topics when it really needs time to develop and to percolate in terms of your conversation around the table. And sometimes the solution is not apparent with staff just giving you a suggestion and then you deciding you're going to approve it or not approve it. It would be better to have more discussion. I'll give you an example. We've talked for a couple of years about fireworks. There was a lot of nuance there. There was a lot of different legal issues there. There are perspectives that exist between the fire department and the police department, and there's an impact to the zoning regulations if you decide to authorize the sale of fireworks inside the city. Getting 3 different departments to be able to explore their various issues with a proposal with you is very difficult in this format. But a time when you were sitting around the table and all of them could be involved in the back and forth and the conversation could be very helpful to developing a consensus that you then take forward to a public meeting and vote on an ordinance when you've had some conversation around it. I agree with you, it should be a public meeting. We could use your study session room that we've used in the past, and would be happy to start trying that if you want to use the 4th Thursday, or if just call it the last Wednesday of the month, whether that's the 4th or 5th one of the month. We could start doing that. It would effectively give you about 10 of those opportunities in a year, because Thanksgiving and the Christmas time holiday will probably eliminate those last 2 meetings those months. But I'm sure we can come up with more than 10 topics that we would like you to have a deeper dive on.
Yeah. I agree, thank you. So I guess if we're in favor of that, if you guys, as we're working on the schedule, can look to do that. I have no other comments. That'll take us to item 14, which is the announcements. Our February 18th meeting will be at 10 a.m. at Corner Market, I believe in the
Gallery room?
The gallery room, yep, as well.
Photos down, too.
Oh, yep.
Get our pictures in.
Yeah, get our photo done as well. February 25th, our meeting's at 4 p.m. at Primetime Grill, and our March 4th meeting is at 7 p.m. and with that location to be determined.
That has been determined, Mr. Mayor. Ottawa University, you can lock that in.
Okay, in Schindel or
The Union.
the
Yeah.
Union? Okay. Okay, so March 4th at 7 p.m. we will be in the OU Union. Without anything else to come before, we do not need an executive session tonight, so we will adjourn.